My mother's in Emilio. Anyway, so let's get going. We've already started out with a great stewardship prayer this morning. This is one that I'd like my parishes to use whenever we're running an offertory program. It is fantastic. We try so very, very hard to find out who wrote it, but we just can't find it to give them the kudos. So if we could just say it together real quick. My parish is composed of people like me. I help make it what it is. It will be friendly if I am. It will be holy if I am. Its pews will be filled if I help fill them. It will do great work if I work. It will be prayerful if I pray. It will make generous gifts to many causes if I am a generous giver. It will bring others into worship if I invite and bring them in. It will be a place of loyalty and love, of fearlessness and faith, of compassion, charity, and mercy, if I, who make it what it is, am filled with these same things. Therefore, with the help of God, I will dedicate myself to the task of being all the things that I want my parish to be. Amen. And I think it's really great because when we talk about finance councils and parish councils and all the councils that we work on within our parish, we sometimes tend to forget that we're parishioners also, right? We need to take that hat off and put our parishioner hat on and think a little bit more about what we want out of our parish, and this really speaks to it really, really well. There's some videos, and what I can do is I can send them to you for time's sake. You can take a look at them. I'm from the Diocese of Joliet. That's where I grew up and that's where I live. I live in a town called Plainfield. Plainfield, we're famous for the big tornado that went through in 1991, if you guys remember. And at the time, St. Mary's was just a little stick parish, and now it's a big Taj Mahal, 8,500 households. So when they say build it, it will come. Other than that, I always like to just do a little icebreaker. Does anybody else know what Joliet or the diocese or that area is famous for? Prison, Stateville Prison. How about Rudy, the Rudigers? You ever seen the movie Rudy? You know, and then also the Blue Brothers. So that's what we're famous for.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So this is literally 8 or 9 miles from my home. So when the kids were bad when they were little, we drive by. And that's the big house, too. Richard Speck was there, and I think John Gacy was there, so it's not a nice place to be. Anyways, really quick, this is what we're going to talk about today. Amplify and ignite, okay? When we talk about amplifying, we're talking about our message and what our mission is. So many times in our parishes, don't follow along with the presentation. Okay? They don't match, so don't think through that. But when we talk about amplifying, we want to amplify our mission. So many times we're in maintenance mode at our parishes, and we want to change the way we talk to our parishioners about their sacrificial giving. So we want to get out of maintenance mode, and we want to get into mission mode, and we want to get our mission amplified to our parishioners. In Ignite, we want people to be on fire for our parish. I heard saying a couple of weeks ago that we want everybody to be a spiritual arsonist. We want everybody to be on fire for Christ and obviously on fire for our parish. So our agenda, real quick, because we don't have a lot of time. I'm just going to tell you briefly about OSB, talk about our revenue streams for the church, just talk about the definition of insanity, change the conversation. If you get anything out of today, that's the big thing. How we talk to our parishioners about their sacrificial giving, the benefits of doing an increased offertory program or a stewardship of treasure program. We're going to run through the OSB program, and then we're going to wrap it up at the end with the annual plan. It sounds like a lot, but we'll get through it. Our Sunday visitor, we were founded way back when in 1912 by Father John Francis Knoll. He bought a printing press for $1, and he started printing a publication called the OSB News Weekly, which is still in publication today. The reason he started printing that publication is because he was combating the negativity of Catholicism in northeastern Indiana at the time. So, lo and behold, here we are, 106 years later, so we're in 4 divisions. I work for the Offertory Solutions Division. We also have OSB Publishing, OSB Curriculum, and then we are a not-for-profit. We are a Catholic not-for-profit company. So, last year we granted back about $3.5 million back into the Catholic community. So, the more money you spend with us, the more money we are able to give away. So revenue streams for the church. Obviously, offertory gifts come in 2 ways. They come through our offertory envelopes and then also through online giving. When we speak about offertory, only our Sunday offertory. Quickly, our envelopes are still, with all of the electronic giving and everything else that we have going on, electronically, they're still our #1 communications tool that we have with our parishioners. So just think, if you are sending your parishioners a packet of envelopes every single, once a month, it's 12 opportunities that you have to communicate something to your parishioners. So take a look at your envelopes and make sure they're doing a good job of not only, bringing money back and forth from the parish from the home to the parish, but, it's telling a story on the picture. What does your front of your envelope look like? What does the back of your envelope look like? We call it the business side of the envelope. Do you have a giving box on there? Where does it start? Does it start at $2? Does it start at $15? Are you driving people to your website, etc., stuff along that lines? Electronic giving, really, really important moving forward for a couple reasons. One, it's going to help sustain your offertory. So the more people you get on, obviously, the better off you're going to be, especially in the summer months when everybody's at their lake house or at soccer tournaments or at the baseball games or what have you, when attendance is down. Somebody told me, and you guys can maybe debate this with me, that good Catholics miss about 12 times a year. I think that's a little high. Maybe it's more.
That's high.
You think 12 times? So I'm batting 1,000 this year because I'm keeping track. So I'm doing pretty good so far this year. But maybe it's 6 to 8 times that they miss or something like that. Wouldn't it be great to get 6 to 8 weeks additional giving from those good Catholics that we have? More importantly, promotes first fruit giving, and that's really what we want to talk about today. We want people to be intentional about their giving. And when they're giving online and something's coming out every single week, they really have to think about it. And sometimes we might even get into their budget. Wouldn't that be nice if we're at the actual line in their budget, just like the folks talked about today about tithing. Fundraising activities. My children went to 16 years of Catholic school, so I'm a pro at putting these tables and chairs away, which I would imagine most of you guys are too. They're really important, but we don't want to do those fundraisers to survive. You've heard of the Rich Church, Poor Church by Jacob Christopher. What side of the equation are you on? Are you a poor church and you're always having fundraisers to make your budget? Or are we having fundraisers for what they're really for? And that's for community and commitment to people. Assessment overages. Here in the diocese, do you get any money back if you meet or exceed your annual appeal goal, which is great? Where you get 100% back?
Over.
So, I worked at the Diocese of Davenport after 5 years before coming here, and I implore you to do a good job with your Catholic Ministry's annual appeal, whatever they call it, because you could use it as a mini capital campaign. And then also planned giving. It's always nice to get a bequeath or a will here and there. So, the revenues through News Church. Definition of insanity, we all know what it is, right? It's alive and well in our workplaces, in our relationships, in our homes, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Did you ever see the movie Tin Cup? About the golfer? Mm-hmm. He got the shanks, and he asked his caddy what he should do. He put his change in the other pocket, he untied his shoe or whatever. When we talk about the Catholic Church, a little joke comes to mind. How many Catholics does it take to change a light bulb? Then the punchline is change, because we really don't change, right? We don't change. Those churches that are changing and are trying different things. Because you see a lot of people there, you see a lot of people getting involved, you see things are moving very quickly outside. And if we as parish don't move as fast or maybe as faster as things are going outside, we're going to be in trouble moving forward. So it's time to change, maybe trying to do things a little bit differently. Everybody will give to a cause, right? Everybody. If you needed an air conditioner, fathers, if you need something, all you had to do is ask at Mass and you'd have it. All the money you would need, right, by the time you got your vestments off. This poor guy was walking back and forth to work, I think 9 miles each way. Kind of sounds like what your parents used to tell you with, uphill both ways, right? A gentleman said, what are you doing? And he told him, he did one of those GoFundMe pages for him. Look how much money they raised and how many people responded. Everybody will give to a cause, okay? We need to start making a cause for our parishes because we're not telling our stories. I have a pastor down in Humble, Texas. His name is Father Felix. He's from Nigeria. Great guy, speaks great English. People love him. They had a second collection for his order in Nigeria, and when they counted the money on Monday, they had twice as much money in his order collection than they did in their weekly offertory. So people will always give to a cause. The potential does exist. So here's some things that I've heard that people actually have tried around the country to increase the offertory. First thing, we're just going to put something in the bulletin, okay? And we know that just putting things in the bulletin usually don't work, right? So if we do have online giving, it's in our bulletin, and it's also on our website. We just like that people are just going to run and jump and go in throws to online giving. We have to treat it like a ministry, but we'll put something in the bullet. Secondly, we're gonna mail out a letter from Finance Council. Is there any Finance Council chairs in? Dick, do you ever put your name on one of those letters?
I'm sorry, not a chair, a member, yeah.
Okay, but so does that really work? Probably not.
Yeah.
Huh? We're gonna say something during announcements. People probably don't listen too good during the announcements. Hey, we're gonna increase our budget by 3% next year, so could you give a little bit more? We had a new pastor come to St. Mary Immaculate after a 12-year stint, and they switched. The first thing that I got from that pastor was that they were gonna increase the budget by 7.5%, asking for more money.
Right.
Nobody's connected to that. Nobody cares anymore, really, to tell you the truth. I grew up in Chicago and I went to St. John Bosco because my mom was Italian, and that's where we went. 5 blocks away was St. Camillus, the Polish church, and you wouldn't be caught dead in the Polish church if you were Italian or vice versa. But that kind of loyalty doesn't exist anymore. Maybe the loyalty amongst our older Catholics is still there, because that's that generational thing. That's that baby boomer thing, right? But the new generation, they're looking for something else. I say this sometimes, but I say it tongue-in-cheek because I hate that it's true, but it just seems like the gospel and the Eucharist are not good enough for people anymore. Everybody's looking for something else out of their Mass experience. Would you guys agree? No? Yes? No? Think about it. Just think about it. And then finally, we have no need for electronic giving here. No one will use it. You guys, did you hear that when you tried the electronic giving for the first time?
No.
No? Okay, good. Good to hear. So, offertory program mistakes. This is the first one. This is the big one. Talking about your parish as a parish that has needs versus a parish that needs needs. Because traditionally, what are we always asking about? What do we need? We need the parking lot done. We need the roof done. We got to fix the stained glass windows, I heard today. We're always asking for the needs of the church. And again, nobody gets connected to that. Remember, we're trying to make some connections. So we need to start talking about our parish as a parish that's meeting needs. And how do we do that? Lay witness talks, communication, things along that line. We're going to talk a lot about that in a second. Secondly, thinking programs that increase revenues are too expensive. We're all fundraisers. Everything that we do at the parish is to raise funds to keep it going, so we have to spend a little money to make a little money. Thinking you could do it alone. It's very difficult to run these programs because we're also short-staffed, and it takes a lot of staff to do these things, so we do it all for you. Not using a professional service. I usually run 40 programs a year throughout the country, mostly in the Midwest, but all sorts of parishes that are big, little, medium-sized, parishes that are in financial disarray, and parishes that are pretty strong financially. So we will customize it to fit your needs. Not talking about money. That's hard. I don't like to talk about money. I know a lot of pastors don't like to talk about money. It's very, very difficult, especially with all the things that we have going on. We have the diocesan annual appeal. We could have a capital campaign for the diocese. All the second collections that are in your envelope packets for the diocese. No, I'm not picking on the diocese, but we always have our hands out. We're always over asking. So it's really, really hard to talk about money and ask for the needs of the church. And then finally, not doing anything at all. You all might have been involved in a parish that was just kind of status quo, the empathy thing. That's my biggest hurdle, is just to have people get over that. So it's time to change the conversation. There must be a better way, right? Of course, there's a better way. Anybody seen the report that Notre Dame did? It's called Unleashing Catholic Generosity, trying to explain the Catholic giving gap in America, because we do have a Catholic giving gap when we compare ourselves to our Presbyterian brothers and sisters. So, in comparison to other faith communities, Catholics report lower levels of involvement in ownership of their parishes. So, when we talk about ownership, what are we talking about? Well, we're not talking about that, everybody's telling Father Joe what to do at his parish. We're talking about ownership that people feel as if they're part of the direction of the parish. All of you who are lay people here, you're here for a reason. You might work at your parish or you're a lay person, but everybody has a story. What made St. Joseph made me be here today? Why am I here today? And that's that ownership piece. And when we talk about our best donors and we talk about our best volunteers, they're usually synonymous, right? Our best donors are our best volunteers, but they have ownership. They feel like they're part of the direction of the parish. And the million-dollar question is, how do we get everybody else up to that level and feeling the same way, right? The average Joe parishioner who has a 1-hour snapshot of what happens on your campus or in your church every week. So how do we get them to that level? We got to connect them somehow. We gotta try and find ways to get them involved, and we gotta try and connect them. Because these folks up here, the ownership piece, they're gonna move away, or unfortunately, they're gonna pass away. And then if we're not doing a good job of moving, I don't wanna say moving people up the ladder, but just getting them more involved, not only in their philanthropy, but also with their volunteerism, okay? We have to do that. To encourage the generosity, we already talked about this, the report suggests that parish discussions on money should not center on paying the bills, but rather should be brought up within the larger context of the parish's mission and vision. Now, if you were all from the same parish, I would ask you if somebody could tell me what their mission statement is. And 99.95% of the time, nobody has a clue. So if you people that are involved in the parish, I call you parish professionals, don't know what the mission statement of your parish is, how do you think the people in the pews on the weekends feel? They have no clue. They have no clue. And we're in direct competition for their money with all the other 501c3s or nonprofits that are in the area. You know, they said that they 5% to the parish, 1% to the diocese, and the rest to the others, right? Why can't we get all 10%? Why can't we do that? Because who do they call when they're sick? Who do they call when they need something? There's just a lot of different ways to look at it.
Our parishioners know where to find it, though. It's on the front of our bulletin every week.
But,
That's where we find it.
Yeah.
and you know, in a perfect world down here, these discussions are beneficial if parishioners get a clear understanding that an active and growing spiritual life requires Catholics to recognize money and possessions as gifts of grace, which they are called to share and manage as good stewards. If we all thought that way, we wouldn't be sitting here today, and I'd be out of a job. So that's our job, is to get everybody to think that way. And when people start thinking about their gifts, then they're becoming intentional about their giving and about their praying, and they're on their path to becoming intentional disciples. So that's what's important. So, steps in the journey to becoming a more generous person. They did a follow-up study to that one, and this one had 2 factors that they came up with, very, very interesting. The study found that 2 decided factors that promote financial generosity among American Catholics are: 1, purposely deciding to give away more money. So thinking about your giving, discerning about it, and then adopting habitual and systematic practices of giving. So what's a habitual practice of giving? Our weekly envelopes. Those are a habit. The annual appeal here in the diocese is at the same time every year. That's a habit. Our offertory program or renewal should be at the same time. So it becomes a habit and becomes culture of your parish. And then also systematic practices of giving. Systematic. Talk about your millennials, right? What do we have in place for our millennials and our young people that are coming? What do we do when a family comes with their new baby and they want them to get baptized and we have them register? We got that chance now to retain them. What are we doing? Do we have everything in place? Do we have text to give? Do we have online giving? Is our website looking good? Things like that. Everything has to work now. And guess what? It's our job to educate people. They're not going to go out and look for the stuff. It's our job as parish to educate them. So again, habitual with our envelopes, having all the systems and everything in place, and then our routines too. All our letters and feast day letters and Christmas letters and Easter letters and all our communication has to be a routine. Okay, we have to continually fill people up. You know, we have to over-communicate with them. Why do members give? 1, they believe in the mission of the organization. So, think about all the other organizations that you give to. Why do you give to them? Well, you probably know what the mission is. We all know what the mission of St. Jude is, right? Marla Thomas doesn't ever have to ask us for $1. What does she do? She tells us stories, right? We all know what the mission of Make-A-Wish Foundation is, because they show us to tell us stories. We all know what the United Way, all these things. So we're in competition with them. We need to make sure that people know the mission of our parish. Secondly, they have a high regard for leadership of the organization. They like Father. They know Father's, there for them. When they come to the office, they're greeted with a smile. When they call, somebody answers the phone to help them. I call parishes for a living, and I'm going to tell you, some of them, it takes a long time to get to somebody to talk to. Yeah. It's like calling Nike or Xerox or whatever, a big company. I have another a customer down in Humble, Texas, St. Anne's. Big parish, about 4,400. Now I think they're about 6,000 families. They have 600 kids in their middle school ministry. That's how big they are. But when Father Petters took over, he did 2 things. He got rid of the phone system. He wanted a live person answering the phone every time somebody called. And the second thing he did is he fired the receptionist. He let her go because she wasn't nice to people. So we have to create an experience for people, not only on Sunday and Saturday and in the morning at morning mass, whenever they need us, okay? It's really, really important. They have high regard for the leadership of the organization. And then finally, transparency, right? We have to make sure that the organization is fiscally responsible. We have to let everybody know where every penny of their dollars or their monies are going. It's very, very important to be transparent. So this is really, really important. It's across the board with every nonprofit, actually. Why do members give? They believe in the mission, they have a high regard for the leadership, and then they believe the organization is fiscally responsible. So let's talk about the conversations. We just had lay witness talks, right? Okay, and what did they talk about? They talked about what they're doing in the parish and how much money they're giving, and that is great, but that's what we hear all the time, isn't it? That is what we, so have you heard about the people that went for Habitat for Humanity, correct? They come back and they're really excited and they talk about how great it was to volunteer and build the walls and do that stuff, but where's the real story there? Can anybody tell me where the real story is?
The families.
The real story is the family that moved in from that house, and we never hear from them, or we never talk about them. Remember, we're trying to connect people. And so, think about it. What stories do we have to share at your parish? What stories do you have to share? You're changing lives every single day. We're just not telling anybody about it. What lives have you impacted? What have you asked parishioners to participate lately? And how do you do that? When those ministry opportunities come around, how do you do that? Are you asking from the ammo? Are you having ministry fairs? Are you doing things like that? The best thing that I think, and I'm going to challenge each and every one of you who's not a pastor here, is to ask Michelle, if I were to ask you to come to the choir practice with me on Thursday, because I heard you could sing a little bit, you'd go, wouldn't you?
I would.
You would, right? Because I pressured her into going, or whatever. But she'd go one time, but then it's up to the rest of that community, the choir, whoever that is, to make her feel like she's part of the family. Because we do have our cliques at our parishes, don't we? We have our cliques at our parishes. So what we want to do is, I am challenging you each to ask one person, once a month for a year, to get involved in something. You might go for 0 for 11. You might get that one person to say yes to something. Because I know you're more involved than just what you're doing here, right? Okay? We want to inspire people to give. Everybody is an obligated giver, really, if you think about it. And what does an obligated giver give us? They give us what's left in their pocket on Sunday, right? If we're inspired to give, they're going to give us 2 to 3 times more. So we have to inspire people, okay? So benefits of the increased offertory program, it gives us opportunities to do a bunch of different things that we don't take advantage of during the year. Renew parishioner awareness of parish mission. So we're going to talk about our parish mission a lot, and people are going to finally realize what we're doing. Secondly, refresh levels of financial commitment. If we don't ask them in the right way, they're just not going to arbitrarily give us more money. Reinforce the relationship between financial commitment and parish mission. We're going to make those connections with people and get them involved and get them engaged and get them ignited. And then finally, we're going to be able to gauge the spiritual health and the overall engagement of the parish community. Because what we're going to do is we're going to solicit everybody. We're going to put a call to action in front of them. And by the numbers that we get back, we'll be able to figure out exactly where we're at, the pulse of the parish. Okay. So that's part 1. That's pretty much how we're talking, changing the conversation, getting out of maintenance mode and getting into mission mode. What we're going to do now is we're going to run through the program features and what it's all about, okay? It's all inclusive, 6 to 8 week initiative, includes a color program brochure. There also is an MPU ask, like an MPU weekend. You guys do MPU here for your annual field, where you pass out the cards and, okay, good. 2 sets of request letters, so there is a direct mail piece to it. All the recording of the commitments and all the status updates every week we take care of for you, so nobody gets taken off their desk at the parish, so we do everything. Mail thank you letters. Nothing more important than a mail thank you, a timely thank you. Okay, when we talk about fundraising best practices. At the end, a color summary report, and then also all of my time. First phase is the announcement phase. We're going to pick a weekend, commitment weekend. And I like to back up 4 weeks from that commitment weekend. We're going to start talking about the program. Now, we're not going to call it St. Mary's Increased Offertory Program, because that screams money, right? Nobody will want to come to that. So maybe St. Mary Immaculate, one family serving God's family would be our theme for the program. And the theme would be branded, and we put it on everything. But we talk about it in the bulletin, we talk about it from the AMBO, and then we're also gonna pray for the success of the program during the prayers of the faithful. So that's how we work it, and we get moving on that, so people start thinking about it. We'll get your list from you with 12 weeks of giving, or sorry, 52 weeks of giving, 12 months of giving, and then we're gonna segment your list, because segmentation is very, very important when we talk about fundraising. So we don't want our top donors getting the letter that our non-donors are getting. So we segment it, so there's 3 different letters. Okay, we said bulletin announcements, program brochure, really important piece. This goes out 1 week before commitment weekend. And it includes a letter from Father and some other things, but I want to show you it really quick because I think it's important to take a look at. Here's Father's letter. What's important is that you have Father's face with his words. Because when we're connecting people to our parish, they have to be connected to him also. And I always ask my parishes to write a story. This is Father Bob, a day in the life of Father Bob, and put it in the bulletin. Because before I got into the business, I didn't know what a pastor did. And you know what? I don't envy you. You guys are busy. But what's important is that people need to know. Because most people don't know how full your days are. And when we're connecting people to our parish and they get connected to the priest and they say, hey, I want to be part of something. I want to be part of something that guy's doing, something along that line. So really important to do that. So, program brochure is mailed 1 week, tells the story of the parish vision and the mission, and then offers parishioners tools to evaluate their increased commitment. Because we're going to present them with a commitment card, and on the back there's guidelines for giving, and I'll show you those in 1 second. And then on commitment weekend we have the lay witness testimonies and then the interview process. So, here's my take on lay witness talks. When we're doing a lay witness talk, we're looking for people who are direct recipients of your ministries, whose lives have been changed. And we want them to get up and tell their story. And I know you've all heard somebody tell their story at Mass, and you could hear a pin drop. Because people lean in and they really, really want to hear the story. So we're looking for those people, or people that are directly involved in ministry, whose life has been changed, and maybe they can talk about how they're paying it forward in the community. But the big thing is how the parish changed their life. Okay, their involvement in the parish changed their life.
Just a question, are we gonna be getting this set of slides?
Yeah, grab it. There's right there.
Okay, I've got that folder. It looks like a little different set though.
There's a little different. I can send this to you too, sir.
I didn't know if they'd be in the,
It'll be on the website.
that's what I wanted.
Okay,
Okay.
very good.
All right.
Okay. Lay witness talk is given. Bulk and few commitment cards are distributed at Mass. A lot of people will bring their commitment card already filled out because they've gotten it a week before.
Yeah.
I like to use the children to hand out the commitment cards because a couple of reasons. One, nobody says no to a child. And 2, it shows that you have kids involved in your parish. If you just put them in the pews, nobody's going to take them. So it's really, really important to do that. 1/4 to 1/3 of all the commitments were going to come on that commitment weekend. So it's really important that we do that. So commitment weekend is over. Here's the brochure again. 5 different colors. These are your pictures. It's all customized. You work with our graphic artists. Remember the inside. And then here's the inside. We're changing lives because of you. And that's right to your parishioners. And we're spreading the gospel at St. Joe's, and this is how we're doing it. We're celebrating the sacraments, and this is how we're doing it. We're exercising charity in our corporal and spiritual works of mercy at St. Joe's. And these are your pictures here. And then here's your financials. Financial light, I like to call it. So the average person can understand it, right? We can do our big state of the parish report at a different time where we have all the big ones, but we just like to do it financially light here. And there's also a panel in here for online giving. So we always want to continue to promote online giving. Here's a sample of the commitment card. Here's a sample of the back of the commitment card, those guidelines for giving. So you can sit at home and say, hey, you know, I'm a $5 giver and I'm going to increase by 25%, but it's only $1.25. I'm visual, so I'd like to see that. So maybe I'll be more inclined to go to 40% or $7. And these numbers are customizable to your socioeconomic areas also. I'm doing good. Second phase is the direct mail phase. So when we get the commitment weekend done, you send all the commitment cards to us in Huntington. And so, say we have 1,000 households. You send us 500 commitment cards. We're going to record 500 commitment cards. We're going to produce 500 thank yous. And then we're going to produce 500 first ask letters. And everything comes back here, so it's postmarked your address. So it looks like you were up all night mailing and addressing and putting stamps on. So nothing is mailed from Huntington, it's all mailed from here, okay? All right, and so for 10 days, what we'll do is we'll collect commitment cards again, and then we'll do the exact same thing, and then the second ask letter will go out. These are all timed perfectly, so it's all over in 6 weeks. So we hit it really, really quick. At the end is the thank you phase, and the summary report is printed. So we have 1,000 households, and then over time, you know, we get commitment cards from everybody. This summary report is going to go out to everybody again, to 1,000 people, okay? And it's just a thank you piece. There's a little thank you letter from Father with the results, just to say how good we did and how well we did, and what we're going to do with the money, etc. So 6 weeks, it's over. Then there's a wrap-up phase where we have a meeting, we'll discuss the final results. We'll talk about an annual plan, because you know what? We're going to have big commitments. Say we have commitments of $250,000. How are we going to collect all that money? It's really, really important. Talk about a stewardship committee. A lot of parishes don't have a stewardship committee. And when we say stewardship, people only think of one thing, right? They run for the hills. They grab their wallets and flush their purses, right? We got to change that. We got to make sure people know it's more than just money. And then take a look at our non-donors. You know, take a look at that bottom list of the people that are zeros that are on your list, and maybe clean them out or see why they're not giving, and maybe come up with a plan to get them back in the seats. No worries, we do the program management, on-site consulting, print and mail service. We have our own post office. We made $750 million offertory envelopes last year, so we're still running pretty strong. We do all the parishioner giving data and all the analysis, and then take a look at a plan for offertory growth. If you haven't looked at your list lately, take a look at it and see where your money's coming from. You might be surprised to see that, you know, 80% of your money is coming from 20% of your parishioners. That's scary. I've seen it as low as 7% we're giving like 90% of the money at these smaller parishes. So take a look at your list and see where you're coming from. And when we do the program, we give you all that information back. We'll actually give you a report of largest changes. Who made the biggest jump and who made the biggest decrease, so you can take a look at that. You know, this all helps, because if you were ever to do a capital campaign moving forward, you know with the people that you could go to, okay? Here's some results real quick. On average, 25 to 35% increase in offertory, and that's on an individual basis. So anybody who does a commitment card will increase their offertory anywhere from 25 to 35%. 35% participation rate, which is, for some reason, the law of thirds is alive and well in the Catholic Church for some reason. And then our return on investment is 900% or more. So we're really, really excited to always talk about that. Increases per respondent. Remember we talked about our segmentation? 65% will increase their gifts by more than 30%. What segment would you think that would come from? Your top donors, your middle donors, or your non-donors?
Middle.
Somebody say middle? It's your middle donors, absolutely. Because they have the most propensity to give. Those are the minivan people. I was one of them. You know, the people that are slaves to their calendar, that are engaged but aren't really totally immersed. Our best donors are already doing a great job with their sacrificial giving. So if we see 2, 3, 4% from them, that'll be good. If you haven't done an offertory program in many years, you might see a bigger jump from your larger donors, but I wouldn't count on that. We'll go through the actual cash in the bank. We talk a lot about intentional discipleship and getting people on the path to becoming that, but what's important is we want you to have a return on your investment too. So what we want to do is we want to make sure we're tracking. So when we have commitment weekend, we want to make sure that we're tracking and know where we're starting from. A lot of parishes don't even know where they're starting from. I was in a parish last week and I said, where were you 3 years ago? Oh, we were down 3%. And I said, well, how were you last year? We were down 2%. How you doing this year? We're down a couple percent. You know, so they're running in a deficit every single year, but you got to look back that, you know, you're in a 7 to 10% deficit. So we want to get you back to zero. We want to make sure that we keep track. After 8 months, this parish had over $95,000 in the bank just from the offertory program. So we want to keep track. We want to see where your trends are at, and we want to make sure that, you know, you're getting a return on that investment. It's my goal that you see a return on your investment by the 8th or 10th week after commitment weekend. We also offer a no-risk guarantee. That's on the video. If we don't meet or exceed after a year's time what it costs for the program and your increase in offertory in cash, we'll refund you the difference. Okay? Never had to do that yet though. Magic wand, what would you do with the extra money? You know, finance people always want to balance the budget and get it in the black, but are you looking for a full-time youth minister? Are you looking for another religious ed person? Whatever you're looking for. Anybody got any wish list? Kyle, you got a wish list? Magic wand, youth, blank check, youth minister?
Yes.
Okay. Michelle, blank check question? What would you do if you had a blank check?
Have a development person.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good job. That's nice. You hire? No, I'm just kidding. Tim, how about you?
Probably a maintenance fund for all these problems with boilers and
Sure.
pumps and things like that.
Yeah. We shouldn't be embarrassed to have money in the bank, right? For preventative maintenance. Wouldn't it be nice to do preventative maintenance instead of being reactive to everything? We shouldn't be ashamed to ask, and don't be ashamed to have money in the bank. So, connect giving to your parish missioner theme. These people went bananas. They had signs and hats and T-shirts, and you know. But we have so many. We have a couple hundred themes that we could share with you. But what I like to do is take a look at your mission statement and pull something right out of there for that. One family serving God's family. That's my favorite. I think that might be it. Is that it? Oh, it's not it. Wait, we got 2 more minutes. I think my battery went.
Is that all the gifts at the side of that, like the hats, did your company bring it up?
No, we don't do any of that.
No.
No.
No, I think it's cool to have like the parish event, you know, everybody have a hat.
Everything you do, celebrate. You know, so say you have online giving, you have 30 people online, okay? And I want to say you got to treat online giving like you guys, you're going to be new, treat it like another ministry of the parish. You really have to, okay? And celebrate it. So say we have 30 people on, and by June we want to have 60. And when you have 60, let people know and put it in the bulletin. Just and continue to celebrate everything that happens at the parish. Annual plan. When I talk about the stewardship committee or stewardship commission or whatever, this is what I'm talking about. It never stops. And I think what happens is we don't think about things because we're short-staffed. Like your envelopes. Have you ever thought about, when's the last time you thought about enhancing your envelopes?
It's a good idea.
It's kind of like at your sump pump. You don't think about it till when? Till you got a couple inches of water, or until somebody says, hey, take a look at your sump pump. And so we just put things aside because we're so busy. But, you know, we want to engage parishioners and change lives. That's our #1 goal, and how do we do that? And it's all about communication. And when we do things, that's what the Stewardship Commission should do. How are we going to do that? Let's take a look at our envelopes, at our website. Is your website good? Are people going to your website when they sit down at work every day to get the readings of the day, to maybe get Pope Francis's reflection? You know, our website should be more than just a calendar and a phone number, right? Other mailings and stuff like that. Implement the tool. You know, when you decide to do something, do it. And then celebrate it. And guess what? It starts all over again. It starts all over, and we have to do that. Okay, I'll send, any questions?
Just a curiosity. I don't know whether you've used this focus or not, but for the last, I think, 3 years, you know, I've got a required minimum distribution. So one of the things I've been able to do, and I think anybody, I mean, I know anybody can do this through their investment person, is to have your charity checks cut by the investment company to the charities. And then that income doesn't come to you and you don't pay taxes on it. And it's a great way, I mean, we've started talking about that in our finance council, that if we can get that message out to people who are in a position where they have a required minimum distribution and can afford to not take the income and pay taxes on it.
Yeah.
Which seems like a strange thing anyway. But if you can pay those charities, pay to your parish, without paying tax on the money,
Right.
that's not a bad deal.
It's not.
I don't know if anybody else is aware of that or not. You know, it's one of those,
We love those people who can do that.
yeah.
You know, but those are our top donors, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, it's not everybody.
It's a very
but-
small percentage.
But it is a group, out of that top group that you could, you know,
Yeah.
let know about that, because, I mean, a lot of, you know, anybody I've talked to is not aware of it. You know, so, why not let them know?
Questions? You have 5 minutes to get to your next session.
Yeah.
Alrighty, thank you.
Thank you very much. My card is in there. If you, I'm available to come and present to your finance council, parish council, whatever. I'm sort of local, but I'm around, so I'd love an opportunity to talk.
Nate, your parish